Another area before we get into questions, and there are really a lot of areas we could talk about, but I'll just mention some of the things that people are contacting me about, and one of which is immigration. And we have a broken immigration system. I mean, people are walking across our borders illegally. There's very little being done about it, and there is a tremendous degree of frustration that I find building up, not only among the people in my district, but I talk to my colleagues. This is national, that you've got this tremendous frustration build up. Last year we had an immigration bill pass the House, an immigration bill passed the Senate. They were substantially different. And there was never an agreement reached on a consensus bill, so nothing passed. This year we again have legislation in both bodies, and I think it's important that we get something done that solves the problem. I can't guarantee they will, but I certainly hope so. Now, in terms of what I personally think ought to be in it, if we're going to have good, meaningful immigration reform, I think there are 5 things. One, you've got to secure the border. A country has to be able to control who it lets across the border. And it ought not be treated like a sieve. And also, I got to say, we don't want to repeat, that's one of 5. We don't want to repeat the areas that they made, the errors they made the last time they did a so-called immigration reform bill. That was in 1987. There's something called the Simpson-Mazzoli bill. It was supposed to solve the problem. And what it did was 2 things. First of all, it said we're going to secure the border. Well, they didn't, but they said it. Second thing was they granted amnesty to illegal aliens that were already here. Now, at the time they did that, there were 3 million illegal aliens. Today there are 12. So it gives you an idea how well that worked. So we do not want to repeat those mistakes. 1, secure the border. 2, you are going to have to vigorously enforce the current laws we have against hiring illegally. Because as long as the economic magnet is there, as long as somebody can illegally walk across the border and with impunity financially benefit from it, you're never going to solve the problem no matter how many border patrolmen you put down there. So you've got to do that. Third thing is, though you have to recognize we have a lot of people in this country who didn't come in here legally that are working in the economy, and you have to realize that we've got a lot of companies and employers here who are relying on some immigrant labor. And one of the biggest groups relying on that is agriculture, which is a very big part of the economy of our district. So number 3, you want to have a way that people can come in legally, temporarily, and work here. Temporary worker status to solve both those problems. Actually, I think that's pretty good for immigrants too, because they do have the protection of being here illegally. It's also good for employers because they can hire people and check, see if they're legal and not be subject to prosecution. Number 4, no amnesty. We saw how amnesty worked before. And by no amnesty, I mean you don't put people who came in here illegally at the front of the line for citizenship ahead of somebody who came in legally. And we as a country take more legal immigrants than any other country in the world. And we have literally hundreds of thousands of people outside the borders of this country who want to come in legally, and they're not able to get in yet. It is just plain unfair to them to say that somebody that came in here illegally gets to go to the head of the line in front of you for citizenship. So that's the 4 things. The 5th, I think in our legal immigration and the people that we permit into the country, we ought to factor in what are they going to contribute to the country when they come in. So if you're educated and you've got a work record or you've got talent, we ought to give those people, favor those people in terms of those we let in legally, because they're going to uplift the country and they're going to contribute to our well-being. So I'm not sure what's going to happen, but those are the 5 principles I think ought to be in an immigration reform bill, and I think if we had them, then this problem of illegal immigration would end. That would be better for our country.